It's very possible that US President Donald Trump has hugely miscalculated this war, that he thought it would be over within days. You can see from his posture in the things that he's saying, talking about Iran wanting to now make overtures to continue negotiations. This is something Iran has denied doing. This is usual bluster from the American president. Has he started a war that he cannot easily finish? And this is why previous US presidents didn't attack Iran in such a way as Trump has. Could it be that it's a huge miscalculation, and that the reason perhaps he shouldn't have done it this way is that Iran's going to go for a long and very, very painful war, one which they hope deplete surrounding countries' ability to defend themselves. To get a proper perspective on just how many attacks Iran has come under, in the last, I think it's 12 hours, Iran's been hit by 700 missiles from Israel and America in their joint mission. It's been going on now for 3 days, started on Saturday morning. They took out the Ayatollah Khamenei very, very quickly. Imagery of his squashed and blown up Tehran bunker boomed all over the internet. It's now emerging that there may have been a miscalculation, that cutting off the head of the Tehran regime and indeed the IRGC may inject some sort of paralysis in Tehran's ability to defend itself and to attack all over the Middle East, as it has done. However, this morning I've received some very good intelligence analysis from the US and elsewhere, suggesting that, in fact, Iran's command and control, i.e. its ability to control and communicate with its military and to order it to respond in certain ways, whilst it may have been depleted, it has not gone. It's still there, it's still intact, and they're still able to lash out. If I could just read one sentence from that analysis, it's quite interesting. It said, contrary to expectations that the supreme leader's death might trigger immediate paralysis, the Iranian regime appears still to remain in control. Now that's a regime that we thought was led by one man. Okay, underwritten by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, who are a very, very potent military force of some 200,000 to 300,000 people. It does mean that something's going on. By day 3, early indications are that Iran, rather than going for a quick fix and perhaps surrendering and saying, look, we'll have a mutated version of the previous regime, a much more Western-leaning one, that those regime figures who remain are far more fearful of surrendering than they are of the Israeli and American military. This is ingrained in their philosophy of the 1979 revolution. They want to continue it, and surrendering would lose so much face, it'd be far worse than what they think might be the effect of the American Israeli attack. And it also indicates that the war may go on longer than perhaps the Americans. And possibly the Israelis thought, perhaps the Israelis knew this, but influenced Donald Trump so much that he decided to go ahead with the attack. It now appears that some intelligence analysts are suggesting that Iran is going to go for a war of attrition, or as they're calling it, a war of endurance, where they temper their attacks to such a degree that they manage to deplete Israel and America's defensive mechanisms, i.e. the kind of things like the Iron Dome and Arrow 3 that shoot out missiles in protection of Israel, and the sort of things that protect aircraft carriers and destroyers and other US bases and military personnel. Because as we've seen, they've been attacking all over the Middle East, and they've been targeting Gulf countries who have played host to American personnel and military bases, and they're being punished for it. And they're expending huge numbers of defensive missiles, and these will run out eventually. We can only speculate just what Iran has left. These US-Israeli airstrikes have concentrated on getting to our IRGC and the Basij paramilitary police force that is subordinate to the IRGC, to try and limit the Tehran regime's ability to control the people. However, we don't know how many missiles and where they are kept remain. There could be an awful lot more. And it could be that either they stretch out the attacks on the surrounding countries, focusing on Israel, or they wait for Hezbollah to take up the mantle for a while, then send another onslaught in one go. The calculation will be, it seems, that they want to spin this war out for as long as possible, thereby trying to put America in such a position that either it backs off, which is unlikely, or it has to send more resources towards the Middle East. This will be a huge embarrassment to Trump, the non-war president, who's now started what could be the biggest one in decades. It's entirely possible that Iran may eventually make overtures to America, back-channel talk, and that Trump will be able to claim some kind of victory, but only after probably a lot of people die in Iran and possibly elsewhere, or that Iran actually forces the attack on it to stop in order to regroup and announce its new supreme leader, which they're currently debating over. Or another scenario may be, I mean, I don't think this will happen, but they may abolish the supreme leadership altogether. But it seems that they are choosing one right now. Figuratively, the head may well have been cut off the leadership of Tehran, but there will be another head coming very shortly. The head that is in temporary control, this three-man council that's governing it, including its president, is still very much in control. Attacks on limitations to access of the Strait of Hormuz have hugely rocketed oil prices. And I'm hearing that there are evacuation arrangements being made for Western workers who are in the southern Iraq region, where there are huge numbers of oil wells in and around Basra and the surrounding areas. Evacuating them is going to be a huge operation because it's proving difficult, because they can either go south to Kuwait or north, traveling all the way through Iraq with all of its domestic problems and into Turkey. This will be difficult. And the other thing is that I forgot to mention, the IRGC has massed out the border with northern Iraq because it believes that two things could happen. There could be a ground incursion by Kurdish opposition groups, or smugglers could be bringing in arms to help the opposition, which thus far hasn't had any what they call kinetic help from the American military. And you know, we can only speculate if those Kurdish groups, if they do enter and are able to enter Iran, whether they would be helped by Western special forces, which I think is highly likely. For the moment, the coalition is between Israel and America. Britain has very recently gone back on its decision not to allow attacks from its bases, but has now said to Trump, you can launch attacks from our bases. I think this is going to be treading a very fine line for the British leadership, because whilst America and Israel are allies, Britain does not want to be seen to be joining this attack, because depending on how you look at it, it is an illegal war, and we have a prime minister who's one of the highest lawyers in Britain, and I think it's unlikely, but British warplanes will probably be taking part in defending against those missiles. So they will be opening fire, and have already opened fire to defend against Iranian missiles by shooting them down. Whether there could be a miscalculation, or Britain could be sucked into it, it's possible, but it's too early to say. This war's only been going for three days, I think. So I would expect it to go on for weeks. So it's early days. We could be looking at some more major incidents that we haven't seen yet.